is everybody ready? We affirm and our sole contention concerns pacifying the Pacific. The clouds have darkened over the South China Sea. In September, Chelany of the Japan Times found that U.S. inaction in the region has allowed China to gain effective control over the South China Sea, a strategic sea that is more than twice the size of the Gulf of Mexico and 50% bigger than the Mediterranean. To make matters worse, the U.S.'s hard power strategy in the region has been a failure. Chelany furthers that current U.S. Green Book navigation operations neither deter China's expansion nor reassure U.S. allies of our support. As a result, Story of the Institute for Asian Studies in 2014 concludes that current behavior in the South China Sea has increased the probability of regional military confrontation, and if the status quo continues, tensions could become intractable. Fortunately, accession to the UN Law of the Sea would allow the United States to lead a multilateral coalition to halt Chinese expansion and bring about peace in the region. Who Could Watch You in 2014 finds that non-accession to the Law of the Sea enhances the perception that the United States is an intermeddling power in the South China Sea, uninterested in true partnership with regional allies. This is because, as Yomei of the China International Studies Group in 2015 explains, regional allies such as Japan and the Philippines attach great importance to UCLOS as they want to develop their maritime economies and strengthen their maritime security. As a result, Yomei concludes that only by ratifying the Law of the Sea Treaty can the United States join a common multilateral framework with its allies, rendering the United States more forceful in mediating maritime disputes in the South China Sea. There are two distinct advantages of such a multilateral approach. The first advantage comes through stopping China's advance. Currently, Peters of the Truman Center in 2012 finds that China has been slowly expanding its territory in the South China Sea through bilateral talks with neighboring countries, using its muscle to prevent the region from collectively bringing their claims to the UN. However, Gates of the Diplomat in 2017 writes that due to the United States' strong economic and political influence, the U.S. can create an enduring peace with China, yet until the United States accedes to the Law of the Sea, its credibility in dealing with belligerent states will remain diminished. Specifically, Frankie and Emery in 2017 finds that by presenting a cohesive, unified front, the United States and South China Sea nations can take a significant step in changing China's position. This is vital, as without action, Chinese domination threatens to plunder regional nations of their needed economic resources. French of the Atlantic in 2014 writes that if China can impose its will in the South China Sea, it would achieve the greatest territorial expansion by any power since Imperial Japan, limiting weaker Asian states' resources and territory. For example, Wu of Business Insider in 2011 finds that China's pressure on Vietnam's offshore energy development has put the Vietnamese economy at risk of collapse. Dale of the National Geographic in 2016 furthers that China's overfishing could lead to the world's worst fishery collapse ever, risking the food supply and livelihoods of millions of people in the region. The second advantage of such a coalition is preventing regional war. Gates writes in the Diplomat in 2017 that without a legitimate UN Law of the Sea backing them, South China Sea countries are forced to militarize to protect themselves, with Vietnam increasing its military budget by 400% in the past decade. U.S. accession rekindles the hope of diplomacy as an alternative to militarism. Sherman of the Air War College in 2017 finds that U.S. accession to the Law of the Sea is an important first step to stress the need for diplomacy and avoid military escalation in the South China region. This is vital, as militarization puts these countries at risk of Chinese invasion. French of Columbia in 2014 writes that Beijing is prepared to use military conflict on neighboring countries to confirm the resistance against China is futile. Precedent exists, as Scout of Time in 2014 finds that in 1980, after repeated sovereignty violations, China invaded Vietnam, killing 50,000 people in 6 weeks. Overall, Nguyen of Texas A&M in 2018 finds that millions of people and their livelihoods are at risk due to the South China Sea dispute. For these reasons, we affirm.
Can I see the mayor that allies of China in the South, please?
We negate the result of the United Nations Conventional Law of the Sea without exception. Our first contention is an Arctic disaster. Despite the media attention of the Arctic region, its pristine environment has fortunately been left mostly untouched. For example, originating in Chatham House writes that economic sanctions prevent Russia from accessing critical Western technology, locking them out of Arctic regions. While the rest of the world is shut out of the region, American companies are poised to use the Arctic for a profit. Health 13 of Pennsylvania State University writes that 73 billion barrels of oil are in our extended continental shelf, which is currently inaccessible to American companies. However, the sugar internet lack of the United States right that by injecting polymers into the oil, companies have increased production potential by 40%, bringing the price needed to make a profit in the Arctic to just $40 a barrel. Fortunately, the absence of accession and UNCLOS restrains American companies from devastating the region. Because UNCLOS serves as the basis for claims in the Arctic, the rights for companies to drill remain unclear without accession. Pedrosa 13 of the Naval War College continues that the oil industry believes that claiming an extended continental shelf to drill without a ceding would be challenged in court internationally. Thus, UNO 12 of the Ocean Policy Research Foundation continues that the oil industry is ready, willing, and able to explore this area, but have made it clear that they will not drill without the maximum legal certainty from an UNCLOS accession. Allowing American companies to drill in the Arctic would have catastrophic impacts globally, dooming developing nations to economic failure. Walsh 12 of the Time magazine explains the environmental price tag from drilling wouldn't come from the oil, but rather the 1.7 trillion cubic feet of methane that gets released alongside it, because methane has 20 times the warming potential of carbon dioxide. Overall, Wade 15 of Schroeder Investment writes that developing nations are extremely reliant on agriculture, increasing susceptibility to climate change costs. Thus, Chesney 12 of the Scientific American concludes the environmental price tag of Arctic drilling would cost the global economy over $60 trillion over coming decades, with 80% of this effect borne by developing nations. Our second contention is escalating in the South China Sea. While tensions have escalated rapidly in the past, Jami 18 of the Guardian writes that the overall situation in the South China Sea has been stable because of multilateral framework signed with the ASEAN nations and China. Unfortunately, us leading to UNCLOS changes this dynamic in two ways. First, by alienating China. June 16 of the Straits Times writes that America has historically driven wedges between ASEAN nations and China by encouraging pursuits of escalatory policies that ruin multilateral cooperation. Unfortunately, accession would do the same, as June 16 of National Interest writes that American accession would energize Chinese resistance because of a perception that America is using international legal regimes to contain them. Second, by legal escalation. Blumenthal 12 of the Diplomat writes that a ceding to UNCLOS would lead to legal wrangling through UNCLOS between China and the U.S. Problematically, this locks us into a failed system, as Gertner 15 of the University of Cambridge explains that UNCLOS doesn't address the historical factors in the South China Sea, rendering the agreement insufficient to resolve disputes. As a result, Meeting 16 of Foreign Policy depicts that UNCLOS arbitration only escalates tensions and undermines the multilateral approach that ASEAN nations have taken with China. As a result of these two reasons, Nevitt 07 of Oklahoma State University quantifies that militarized disputes are twice as likely when both parties are members of UNCLOS. But even if conflict doesn't happen, increased tensions have enormous day-to-day impacts. The Council on Foreign Relations 14 writes that 1.5 billion people are reliant on $5 trillion of annual trade for basic necessities, which is why Crabtree 16 of CNBC corroborates that even short-term increases in tensions can spike prices of basic goods and push millions into poverty and starvation. Thus,
What's the new technologies about alcohol?
So the impact of your case is that when tensions increase, there's less trade, like a bunch of people lose their jobs, lose money, right? Yeah, the impact of your second job. So how high do tensions have to go? Like there are tensions right now, right? We both agree with that.
no, so that right now.
Right now there are no tensions whatsoever in the South China Sea.
Is there conflict in the South China Sea?
That's not synonymous with tensions.
So that's not
I will just respond to what you said. You said, is there conflict? I'm saying there's not conflict, but China is taking resources from other countries, and there's trade. I mean, there's tension. Okay, but let me just clear this up real quick. My point is that like your impact, you're getting uniqueness by saying that like there's no tensions right now, which means that if there are any tensions, then your impact is already happening.
No, we would say in that scale, the more tensions, the more.
So,
trade.
is
I have
there?
a question.
Sure.
So, what does, if the U.S. deals with multilateral negotiations, like what does that mean?
That means that South China Sea countries work with the United States in a unified front against China.
Why do they need the U.S.?
Why do they what?
Why do they need the U.S.?
They need the United States because right now there's no unifying force and no country that is strong enough politically and economically to counter China.
Isn't a coalition of countries stronger than one single country?
No, because we're not saying that China works. I mean, the United States works alone against China in our world. We're saying the United States works to keep this.
Right, but in the next slide, you said
But-
that U.S. is looking at it.
No. Okay. No, because the multilateralism that you're talking about isn't actually real. All that's happening is that there's a group called ASEAN which signed a contract with China, but China is still able to do bilateral talks with all those countries individually.
What is the effect of that?
Yeah, so China uses bilateral talks to get compromises and like bully these coerces other countries. Like for example, they did a bilateral talk with Vietnam a few months ago to get more. Can I finish? Give the example. So they did a bilateral talk with Vietnam, which gave them access to all of Vietnam's oil in the offshore. That's why Vietnam said it's going to collapse.
Vietnam's on the brink of collapse
Yeah.
because of one oil rig and
No, it's not one oil rig, it's a bunch. Obviously, I mean, what the evidence says is that China is restricting all exploration of Vietnam into the offshore to get more resources. China wants more resources, and when they can divide and conquer in bilateral talks, they can use their economic prowess to coerce these countries. But however, if it's not a bilateral talk, it's a multilateral talk which is unified by a big country with power like the United States, they cannot divide these countries and they cannot divide them.
Would China listen to it?
They would have to listen to America and its coalition. The reason behind this is that it's not just the United States versus China. When China can no longer divide countries, and there's a unified front against them, the United States and plus these South China Sea countries have enough power over them that A, they care about their image because the United States has political power, but B, when you consider the economies of all the South China Sea nations in addition to the United States, that's enough economic power over China to make them better. That's the question. So you talked about like ASEAN talks happening right now. What is your evidence saying they're working? I mean, yes, there are talks. What is your evidence saying those talks are productive? Yeah, obviously, there are tensions, but like, what is the talks actually doing? Tangibly? What does that mean? I mean, tensions is just a buzzword people use in debate. What does that mean?
And you said like there is no risk of conflict unless you go firm in U.S.
Okay, but neither of us are talking about conflict. You're talking about trade. Or first.
Start with their first contention on the Arctic. The first thing they say is that Russia can't access because of Western sanctions. We say, hey, sanctions are a pretty short-term thing. That's why in the long term, Russia and all these countries need them. But second, most importantly, Putin has said that he's still going to stand firm to his Arctic commitments. They want the Arctic because they needed the oil for economic growth when their land supplies go out. So obviously, in the long term, Russia will drill anyway, and any country other than that, the Arctic can also drill anyway. That severely mitigates their impact because the United States is just a small part of the entire Arctic. Then they say that there's 74 billion barrels in the U.S. shelf. Two issues. One, according to Ormor in 2011, if the United States does not accede to the law of the sea, other countries will extend their claims into our areas because those areas are conflicting. At the point where that is true, he says that that would mean that our territory will shrink dramatically, which means that drilling will happen anyway. But second, Wong 13 explains is that out of all the oil in the Arctic, only 3.8% would be given to the United States if they acceded to UNCLOS and got their claim through. At the point where that is true, the Wong evidence concludes that the United States does not need to join the law of the sea to secure our oil resources there. There's no impact. The Then, they say that legal certainty is the key, but when Nugent 12 explains that we do not need the law of the sea, we can work in other bilateral agreements or multilateral agreements like the Arctic Council. This is why the USGS finds that most of Arctic resources are in areas that have non-disputed territorial boundaries where countries can drill, especially in places like the EEZ, so they have no impact. But second, what Brown explains is that it will take 66 years to submit a claim into the UN CLCS, which is because essentially before like the past few years there weren't that many claims, but the amount of claims has increased and increased over the years, so it takes a long time for the UN Conventions program. 66 years is a lot of time, you don't know what will happen. Their evidence that says they'll be ready, willing, and able to drill comes from Hillary Clinton's testimony, and it's just purely rhetorical. Their evidence about new polymers is just one Alaskan company trying this out, like a Now This video on Facebook. Instead, you should look to Forbes in 2017, who explains that the major oil nations across the world have agreed that oil prices probably will remain low for the long term because of the U.S. shale boom, and even without that, oil prices are always volatile, which is why Greenwood 17 explains is that there is no economic rationale for companies to spend billions of dollars going into the Arctic when they don't know that the profit is there, which is why currently the U.S. companies are decreasing their investment in the region. But then even more so, what Schneiderman of the LA Times explains is that by the time we get this oil drilling going, green tech will surpass the price of oil, which means that it's not going to be profitable anyways. On their impacts, all of them are generally about climate change. They don't tell you what specifically is going to happen because of the United States. What Shipman 05, as you explains, is if we join the law of the sea, we can have a multilateral coalition to work around the globe environmentally, which is why he concludes that by most accounts, the environment will be a beneficiary of U.S. accession to the law of the sea. Let's go to their second contention on the South China Sea. The first thing they say is that we have this really nice code of conduct. There's two issues. The first comes from Gu in 2018, who explains that China has historically used this current ASEAN negotiation and once since 2002 to further their expansion in the region. He finds that the current status quo is one that will allow China to continually expand under the vague terms of the agreement. But second, what Tong and Dipman in 2017 explains is that ASEAN needs a unifying voice to bring these countries together. We would say that that unifying force comes from the United States, as we point out, it's the only balancing power to China. On their first warrant, the only link card is Fuchs, who said that we energize Chinese positions. We would say that China wants the South China Sea regardless. We say that they're going to do it anyway, but the U.S. getting involved doesn't matter that much unless it's with these other countries in the region. But their evidence is also of our hardliners on the UN Tribunal, which we already support these tribunal rulings in the past just outside the agreement, which is why Smith of URI in 2017 explains is by the U.S. joining the agreement, you have a global balancing power on the UN Tribunal, making China more likely to listen. On their second warrant about diplomatic wrangling, it's happening in the status quo as Hu 15 explains, conflicting interpretations are causing tensions between the United States and China. The U.S. needs to have a real multilateral coalition to increase legitimacy. Their evidence about a doubling conflict goes from 2.6% to 5% is about militarization, and Nazi Waldorf Forbes explains that if the tensions rise in the South China Sea like they are, there will be an oil price spike, which will mean, in general, people around the globe will start mining for oil, which means it will increase climate change because of the South China Sea.
We'll try to take enough time to
since literally like 2011. We're not going to remove them. But then he says that we have stand firm. That's who cares. Like specifically, the Christian advocate says that sanctions can reduce their ability to access the technology to enter. It doesn't matter what Putin wants. He really doesn't matter. Then they say that other countries are going to grow anyways, and they're going to take our claims. He literally doesn't give you a single other country who's going to take your claims. Canada has literally banned Arctic drilling. Norway didn't find any oil and stepped down. Like there's not a single other country in the world that's going to expand into the Arctic. Then he says that only 3.8% of our oil is going to be in the extended continental shelf. That's not true. The the Halk evidence gives you the quantification, saying that there's 73 billion barrels of oil on the extended continental shelf and only 23 billion inside our EEZ, which we access right now. The analysis is very simple. Their evidence is talking about the Air-Asia basin. We are talking about the holistic Arctic region. Then they say that we're going to have the same legal certainty through bilateral treaties and multilateral treaties. That's not true. The Halk 12 evidence of PSU says that bilateral treaties and multilateral treaties fail because the fact that third parties who aren't in those treaties can still sue, which means there's still legal uncertainty. Then they say there's going to be a backlog of 66 years. Two responses here. First, Lon says that first, they doubled the number of subcommittees in the CLCS, which means that they cleared up the backlog. But second, he says that most of the claims before us literally won't even be evaluated by the CLCS because they don't meet the criteria the CLCS gives, which means they'll literally just skip them. It won't take a long time. Then he says our evidence is from the Hillary advisor. Like, that's not true. Call for it from the Marine Policy Institute. Then he says that polymers are just one example. Let's look holistically. Montgomery 17 says that Arctic drilling companies or oil companies have already drilled ways to drill in the Arctic, making a profit at $35. The warrant is very simple. Then it says that they folded automation into their plans, which means that holistically they were able to access the Arctic. Then it says that oil prices are volatile and will never go in. This is nonsense. We literally drill in the Gulf of Mexico. We drill everywhere. Prices are volatile everywhere. That doesn't make any sense. But second, more importantly, it's still an overall upward trend. Bloomberg says that as global supply decreases, the prices are on the increase. Then he says Schneider, Green Tech's going to LNP. Two problems here. First, Cayman says that when you accede, that means that like we're going to drill, which locks us into long-term infrastructural projects that will prevent a shift to renewable feeds. In fact, we're too busy drilling. But secondly, more importantly, realize that there's a global over-demand of oil, which means we're just like drilling and export it. Then he says that like climate change, we have multilateral coalitions to solve. Borgerson says that UNCLOS only locks us into our domestic laws and then domestic environmental laws and into our like Trump's literally not going to cooperate with international environmental norms. You pull that from the Paris Accord. Go their case. At the top, because the tensions are low right now, Xiaoming 18 says that the code of conduct has resulted in a stability in the region. They're going to say that like the code of conduct is really exploitative. It's still a comparable benefit because the alternative is expansion. We would say that right now the evidence very explicitly says that the region is really like stable, but then they just assume that when you accede, we're going to create a multilateral coalition. Their evidence, you're going to prefer analysis here for two reasons. Realize that our allies are disjointed from America. Valencia 18 says that we literally engage in freedom of navigation of operations against our allies, which indicates we have a different understanding of freedom of navigation with them, which means we're disjointed about our interests in the region. But secondly, more importantly, Shoe 16 of Straits Times gives you the analysis in saying that right now ASEAN doesn't know whether they want to follow America's policies because America only wants to escalate things, which means that even if we get some ASEAN nations, it's incredibly disjointed, which means they don't get their analysis. Multilateralism isn't going to increase. But then, other individual analysis. First, they say you're going to stop China's advance because like they're using bilateral treaties right now. You have to look at the incentive structure for countries to engage in these bilateral treaties. The Al-Maki evidence of 2016 says that the reason countries in ASEAN engage in bilateral treaties is when there's a split in ASEAN and there's no unity in ASEAN. That doesn't change when you affirm. Countries aren't going to hop onto each other's interests. The ASEAN countries are fundamentally different, which means a multilateral coalition can never be built. But second, more importantly, Yan 18 says their allies are cautious of following Trump because they think that Trump only wants to escalate the region. If that doesn't change when you affirm, you don't give them fiat to just change Trump's entire foreign policy. Trump is always going to try to escalate, which means our allies are never going to follow. Then other impact about war. Because the conflict's really unlikely. If China invades Vietnam, America would feel the need to respond because they realize if they don't respond, then China would set a precedent to the world that they can just keep taking over the region, which means they're always going to respond, and China doesn't want to risk mutually assured destruction, so we're never going to invade Vietnam.
When you see like the range trading automation says $35.
subcommittees?
Oh, yes.
Small departments. Very well. Yeah.
Everyone ready? So, the FAQ just says they increase the amount of subcommittees in the CLCS from 3 to 6.
Yeah, that's a doubling.
Great. So if it takes 66 years with 3, maybe, even though it's from 2018, why doesn't it take 30 years with 6?
Well, I would say that like with economies of scale, that probably means you're able to specialize, which means with more committees, you actually not only like reduce it in half, you probably reduce it even more. Like more so that doesn't interact with the second front line, which is
Well, I'm talking about the first
one.
one.
Okay.
So
Sure.
the issue with that, right, is at the point where like pretty clearly these committees are super dysfunctional. Like
Okay, why are they dysfunctional?
Because if there's 3 of them, they take 66 years to review.
Right, that's because it takes like a fair amount of time to like evaluate a claim, sure. But like
So-
doubling the subcommittee means that they can like specialize in things like we're going to do extended confidential shelf research, you do the environmental research, we specialize, we cut the time like by one. You spend 50 minutes. Is that a question? Let's talk about right now your analysis that says that when you accede, we're just going to create magically a multilateral solution. In what world does Trump just go forward and say like, yes, we're big on multilateralism, like this America First stuff is just a fraud, like I'm here now, I'm a globalist.
The way the U.S. is behaving in this country right now is we're working with our allies, which is hard power. That's
Are
our
we
main
working with our allies?
Yeah.
So if we're working with our allies in hard power, why are we using our hard power against them? We literally use freedom of navigation operations against our allies.
That's like we sail our freedom of navigation all over the place. Okay? We're not like using it
That's
against
not how an operation works. These are targeted operations. Like we were saying, Philippines, if you're breaking the law, we're here with our military.
So freedom of navigation, not like, it doesn't really matter what's going on with freedom of operation. The idea behind it is we are
working with hard power.
No, we are saying that like we do use freedom of navigation, but what we're saying is that's indicative of the U.S. having some sort of commitment to the region. We're saying we can have a better commitment to the
Wait, so our commitment to the region involves us using our hard power against our allies.
I mean, we'll call your efforts about like if our allies are really that scared about our like a shit passing letter EDC. I mean,
Like that probably doesn't matter. Right? Like,
but also that's the status quo. Like you're.
yeah, and I'm saying that this
Hold on.
demonstrates that there's a disconnect between us and our allies. That doesn't
Yeah, and
end
the
the work.
disconnect changes because the U.S. is joining one of the most diplomatic.
No, our problem with them is that they are breaking UNCLOS. That's America's problem with them.
Yeah,
That's why we use freedom of navigation
I'm
operations.
sure when the U.S.
That doesn't
joins this
change.
agreement, we're not just going to continually attack like
Why are
some
you
of our
sure?
allies. Instead, the U.S.'s biggest interest, like I know you're like really hating on Trump, but the policy that it's not trying to see is not dictated by one man alone. Matt Donovan goes over there and he's
Oh
saying,
yeah, so
we're using
Mattis
our
is gonna be
military.
like, yes, let's diplomatically engage with China.
Instead of just like watching CNN, if you look at what they're actually doing,
What
they are watching stuff.
are you watching? Breitbart News?
Because of the bottom market, where do you have rooms? So, sound good? The first response they give to our case is that detentions are low because of H.O.N. But they dropped the responses to these two rebuttal from the fluid evidence because the stability because of H.O.N is very temporary, which has historically done they've exploited H.O.N talks because it's not enforceable at all and just use them to expand because it's still divided across through. The second response they give you is just a general idea that like, the big schism and they don't trust Trump. The problem with this DNA evidence, which specifically subsumes this when it tells you that if the United States is seen as intermeddling in this process right now, that you like the pronouns that they talk about are seen as intermeddling because the United States is not a UCOS. The country sees the United States is like benefiting from UCOS without joining it. That's why the countries don't join them. That's why the DNA evidence specifically tells you that once the United States accedes to UCOS, they get more trust from their allies. For the Frankie evidence concludes that based on this group, there can be a unified front. That's what our first link to the place we go. The only response which is at all different from the other things that I already covered is the incentive structure. They say that they're doing bilateral talks because of like the schism and H.O.N. or something that they all have the like vested interest in stopping China's expansion for the first stuff. At the end of the day, Frankie evidence gives us a link because that once the United States gets the trust because they're not seen as intermeddling, there's multilateralism. That link into our impact because we tell you that bilateralism, which is the opposite of multilateralism, is the reason why China is able to expand the status quo, which is why these countries are the brink of collapse. We're talking about bilateralism, let's try to coerce and bully countries, which is why the status quo, the Wu evidence told us Vietnam is at the brink of collapse, and the Bale evidence, which is not responding to as well, tells you that the fisheries at the brink of collapse, which could like lead to the like deaths of millions. At that point, we have in two ways. First, the strength of Lake because climate change is affected by millions of other things, which shows that the United States is in a unique position to change this. Second of all, is the wall of evidence which is not responding to rebuttal, which specifically shows that when tensions go up through China's expansion, there's an increase in oil prices, which means there will be more drilling in oil, which turns their case it is not responding to. At that point, let's go to their first contention of two big responses. First of all, the idea that 4% of all oil is in the United States shelf takes out their argument because it means only 96% of the effects of climate change from our drilling is due to other countries. Then they told you that like you're doubling the size of the CLCS from like 3 to 6, and some of the claims don't meet the criteria. That means that it still take like decades for them to actually reach the brink of their impact. It's the extreme mitigation in addition to the 4% thing. At the end of the day, we saw that there's existing claims. They have no reason to actually do anything. They need complete certainty. There's that.
We'll take from
why made the response for why respond?
They're like unsure because it's considered like
the world is their consensus is going to be really high. They're sure I'll go
that can't be done. Brian needs to respond to that first week. What did I do? I'm still not
pays good, where he says that the 96% of our oil is are in other regions. That they're just talking about the Amber Asian basis and basin, and he extends through input. And remember, how tells you that, which is much more holistic, that there's 73 billion barrels of oil that American companies can now access. But then they say like it takes decades to reach like the CLCS claims. He just asserts this because he doesn't respond to our second front line where we say that if there's most of the claims don't even meet the conditions of the CLCS, if there's not enough claims before America's, and it's going to be very they'll want to see that they have access to oil. But at the end of the day, Pedroza tells you that the only thing that companies are lacking to drill is maximum legal certainty because they don't want to be sued internationally. But UNO tells you that they're ready, willing, and able to. So if they once we see, then they will go in and drill. And that's why Walsh said that they'll access it will release 1.7 trillion cubic feet of methane, which is 20 times the warming potential. And that's why Chesky says that it costs the global economy $60 trillion, and with 80% of this effect falling on developing nations. But then we outweigh first because global warming means that there's going to be more intense conflict in the South China Sea, especially with rising sea levels and like disputes over territories and islands, which means that like conflict is going to increase in our world in their once we affirm. But then countries like if their economy decreases, then they're more likely to lash out and engage in conflict in the first place because they want to maintain legitimacy and they have like less to lose. So then go to their case. First, we can say like the U.S. is meddling, but remember, Jan tells you that our allies don't even trust Trump, and they like once we affirm that's not going to change. But then Jude tells you that they're not sure they like America's escalatory policies, which again doesn't change if we affirm because the U.S. is still rebuild trust just because we assigned to one treaty, and that doesn't like erase everything like all the nationalism and like lack of multilateralism that Trump engaged in the past. Like they will they can still participate in harmful escalatory policies once we affirm. When that's why the U.S. tells you that our allies we conduct going up against our allies, which is that it escalates. So then they say they always have strength of link. If anything, we have a better strength of link because we can't. No one knows how we're actually going to stop trying to accept in the status quo when there are no tensions that changes. But then they say tensions increase, like tensions have always been high. Their demand should already been triggered.
Whenever you're ready. That's the question.
Alright, so how many of the claims don't reach the criteria that it would take like no time whatsoever to review?
I don't know, let's find out. Give me a sec.
Like, I mean, our argument is that the Brown evidence, which from 2018, accounts for that because they're not just going to like assign a base amount of years to every claim. They're going to actually analyze
It definitely does not account for that.
what's the average amount of time it takes for a claim to be zero.
Yeah, I have a question here. Are those claims, like people submit the claims and then they have to review whether it's legit or not and then they dismiss them?
No, they just outright dismiss them if
But
they
how do
like
they- how
haven't
do they do that
resolved
without
the
reviewing
dispute.
them?
Yeah, how do they do that?
Because if the other parties have gone in separate avenues, resolved the dispute, then brought the claims, then they just get completely dismissed.
What
That's-
happened?
So then why would they bring the claim if it was already resolved?
Dude, I don't know. Don't ask me what Russia's doing. Like, they already got the CLCS claim rejected. Like this isn't this doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does, because we prove pretty clear that the CLCS is dysfunctional. It takes them decades and decades to review the claim.
Since then,
So-
they have literally doubled the number of
Since
subcommittees.
2018.
No, okay, your evidence is looking at like holistically. It's like the methodology is not like right now we're gonna look at how many claims.
Even
It's like
so,
holistic,
The
right?
subcommittees go from 3 to 6, which isn't
Yeah,
going
which
to
is-
accelerate it from 6
And then
to
Ryan,
6.
can
It
we-
would be a doubling of the subcommittees, Sandy.
Ryan, and
also
like,
told
don't
you
lie,
that you're
like,
special.
your evidence doesn't say anything about like specialization, right? That's
Yeah,
just,
but like I would just give you like a
Okay.
warrant, but like
Okay.
that probably makes sense. Like that was cross-firing. Another question?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. In what world does Trump stop his escalatory policies when you affirm?
The idea is that obviously there will still be like some Navy presidents, some like freedom of navigation. But the reason
Not
why
maybe.
that leads to these countries not trusting the United States right now, because those countries, let me finish mine. Because those countries see the United States as using this to their own benefit, because they're not actually committing to the region through a
Are
treaty.
allies
However,
listening to us using it as their own benefit? It's like our allies probably.
that's what the DNA evidence says right now. The United
Right,
States is
so-
seen by our allies as intermeddling because they're using these freedom of navigation operations to their own benefit
So what's
because they're not committed to the
and
region.
enjoy multilateralism is not even more meddling.
No, because we're saying that it's intermeddling at the point when the United States is benefiting itself, but not these other countries. However,
Right,
the United
because
States,
our
Brian,
policies
Brian,
don't
that's part
benefit
one.
allies.
Brian, you don't understand implicit part two. That's why you don't get it. What I'm saying is that they're intermeddling right now. However, when the United States accedes to UNCLOS, they're seen as benefiting themselves and benefiting the countries in the region, which is why this country gained trust with the United States actors. Even if they don't like freedom of navigation operations, the means to an end if they believe that the United States is on their side for real.
The countries don't like our policies because they don't like the policy, not because of who America
right.
is, an external policy. They
Listen,
don't
Ryan.
like confronting China because they want economic benefits of China. They don't like confronting China because they think they should negotiate with them. That's why they're not negotiating people.
No. See, Brian, they might not like you, but that is not synonymous with them not trusting the United States as a whole. You don't trust the United
The
States.
evidence specifically says that they aren't trusting, like, they're very
No,
robust
that's
on Donald Trump.
You're,
because
the
of
evidence you showed me just says that they're happy. It says nothing about
We
the
call the
country.
Fairhouse evidence, not the other three cards.
Oil, then I guess their way, and then our way in China. Starting with the oil argument, there are a lot of holes in this argument. First, we say it's not that much; it's only 4%. They just say it's an Asian basin. Our evidence says that potential U.S. ECS claim is 3.8% of all Arctic oil. We also tell you that a lot of other countries will drill too. Then they also have the issue of oil companies actually drilling. We tell you oil prices are volatile, so there's really no probability that in the long term the entire Arctic is going to be taken over by U.S. companies. That leads to their impact. But second, we don't know how long it will take. We tell you 20% will take 66 years. They said they went from 3 to 6. They have been saying that's actually going to speed it up to a great extent to get our benefits. We tell you renewable energy is coming soon. Oil prices are always volatile. There are way too many holes in this case for you to vote for, and we don't even know what the last impact is. That's going to be really important because they have no contextualization of impact. Let's go to their way. They just say it leads to conflict because of like two general wars. This is not at all specific to the South China Sea, and it is completely uncontextualized. At that point, the only way you have in this round is what Danny gives you in summary. The first is strike of where we tell you that so many other things affect climate change. Even apart from every other country drilling, not only in the Arctic, but literally all over the world in fossil fuels. The thing is that the Gates have been telling you that the unique position is with the United States in the South China Sea. But second, they give you this evidence that says, oh, there's already tensions, and tensions have been there forever. We specifically give you the wall evidence which tells you that there will be an oil price fight in the South China Sea, which will increase global oil prices, which means everyone around the world will. There's a few conceded pieces of weighing essentially that mean that you look to the China debate before the Arctic debate. Let's go to the China debate. The only big response we get at the link level in summary is that there's Trump and he's escalating the situation with phone ups. We tell you that A, that is the status quo. The United States is seen as an intermeddling power. B, we say that everyone has a vested interest in the solution. The United States wants to check back China. These small countries want to check back China, which is why the food evidence tells you that we're using it to our own benefit in the status quo, which is why we're seen as an intermeddling nation. And the EMA evidence tells you that we're able to join a multilateral framework when we join UNCLOS. That's going to be critical because the Frankie evidence says that with the united front, China will decrease their aggression, decrease their bilateral trade deals, which we tell you are leading to Vietnam oil cuts and Chinese overfishing, which are putting millions and millions in danger. You know that negating risks these lives. You don't know that affirming action causes big news of climate change.
Let's start on the weighing debate. They say they outweigh for two reasons. The first is strength of links. Ray gives you the analysis that our evidence is specific to American drilling. The second, more importantly, there's a lot of factors that affect global warming. Like, this really isn't weighing. Like, both sides are like very, like, we have like strong strength of link, we're winning our link chain. Then they say that tensions are going to increase, which causes like oil spikes. Ray tells you these tensions have risen in the past. This oil spike already triggered. Their weighing is non-unique. Go to our weighing. They just say since it's not about the South China Sea, you don't evaluate it. This is a global phenomenon that affects that specific region. We say that when there's more global warming, that means that in literally islands go underwater. Like they fight over more resources. The roots cause the conflict increases, which means that really prerequisites to this argument. But secondly, more importantly, we say that when countries' economies go down, they're more likely to lash out, which means that Arctic drilling always comes first. Let's go to their case on China. They read three front lines and final focus. First, they say that the status quo is like There were intermeddling, and then like when you affirm, you change that. That doesn't interact with the analysis Dre gives you. So yeah, the Yan 18 evidence says that our allies literally don't trust Trump because they don't think that he's like engaging in the right policy. And the Shoe 16 evidence says that our allies don't want to follow American. They're divided about American policy because of the fact that America's policy is escalatory and confronts China. None of them is interacted with. They sort of just say, yeah, but when you affirm, you wave a magic wand, and now we're providing a unified front. And Trump doesn't stop changing his policy when you affirm. He's still going to escalate things. On Arctic, they extend a lot of responses. First, they say 4% like, and like their evidence is like about all of the stuff, all the evidence. Scroll down. So Amarillo basically, how evidence says 73 billion barrels from the ECS 23 and like the actual easy. Then they say that there's no evidence of speeding up. We give you these logical warrants. First, like they double the subcommittee. Second, we tell you that most of the claims literally like don't matter. Then they say that like prices are volatile. That doesn't interact with what I said in second rebuttal. I said that like all prices are always volatile. We still drill. Then they say renewables, like one global demand, like. There's always going to be demand, we're just going to export. Extend Pedro's, who says we have legal certainty when we affirm. Walsh says 1.7 trillion cubic feet of methane is released. That's 20 times the effect of global warming. Chesney says that costs us $60 trillion when effect of the global economy, 80% in developing nations. For the prerequisite to their case, it's an easy negative.
Now this is a makeup
Congratulations to everyone for making it to semis at Bronx. It is a 2-1 decision for the con.
So I went for the pro. I really went in for the strength of the length weighing. So on the Arctic drilling, I thought like AF had enough defense that I wasn't evaluating it that heavily after looking at the evidence also, and like not buying that the process is going to speed up all that much, but that was less important. I really went in for the strength of length weighing, saying yes, we should look at what the US is best positioned to do right now. It seems like there's a risk of at least improving negotiations and South China Sea.
So I do the round a little differently. So first on China, I thought you guys had really good analysis on coalitions, but I think Con does a better job of explaining how U.S. constant position in the region is aggressive and escalatory. I don't think you guys really get a response. You just said that by affirming you are magically not going to be escalatory anymore because UNCLOS is supposed to be diplomatic. It's not really a war because we're part of other treaties that are also peaceful, but we're the most militarily aggressive country in the world. Not their analysis, but still, I don't have enough for me to prove that against that idea that they continue to extend in every speech. I don't know why the U.S. becomes pacifist just because we join UNCLOS. Even if UNCLOS is diplomatic, means cons tell us that U.S. meddling even more after joining means that the solvency they have for the Asian countries in the status quo, when the tensions are down, means the risk is actually the opposite, right? You risk tensions going up. They don't, because tensions are down in the status quo. So I don't buy the strength of link analysis that he talks about. Then I go, Con continues as justification for foreign relations deteriorating is Trump. I think there's an easy response there, maybe a time frame analysis, maybe just like U.S. leadership is still really strong, or that like in those situations, maybe Trump, I don't know, something. But like I think that's enough step for me to also believe that like they're not gonna, our allies aren't gonna be happy that like Trump is now leading the charge in like the idea of those negotiations. I don't really get an answer there. So enough step for me to not buy the argument. I think Asian tensions are now down. This goes enough for me to feel comfortable not risking that. Then I go to the Arctic. I think the same problem here kind of arises where there's some skep that you guys put on their argument that makes me hard to like the clarity of like how much do we have to win climate change to trigger a $60 trillion like cost or whatever. And I agree with you guys, it's probably not that high, but I feel like that still is true. The reason why is I read about evidence, their evidence post-state forward by 2 years. So even if there was like a 3.8% of undisputed or whatever oil that was available, 2 years later a new analysis said that there's 73 billion barrels. Maybe that is only 3.8% of oil in the region. And I feel like that's just a high enough number for incentive that like if you only had 23 billion barrels on EPS, 73 barrels outside of it means we're going to want to drill. I also got the analysis, which I thought you were new with the two with the volatile analysis, pull through the rebuttal, but I thought he does a good job of at least like extending that defense that was like volatility is always a thing for oil prices. I don't know why that means we're not going to drill again in the future because of volatility. Then I think, again, I do believe, I'm not sure how much of they're going to be triggering an impact on the climate change. There's two places to vote, is the Asian tension going down as well, and the skepticism that maybe climate change is exacerbated in the United States going to vote. Easy places to vote for me there.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Bilal said. So like first, I'll just like start on the land and the spectrum of what so first on like war weighing, I think that they are responding to like this like the kind of link thing arguing by saying like that they're like causing the GDP increase, that's like the weakness wang. But I think also on the other thing about like oil, like tensions leading to increase in oil prices, they do like say that the tensions have existed for a long time. So I'm not really seeing like why that's a unique reason to like look into your issue first. On their wang, which is like why I looked at like Arctic drilling first, is like I don't really think that you guys are giving like a response to this. Your only response is just not specific to the South China Sea, but I don't know like why I'm like necessarily like need to look that much. So with that in mind, I'll like start on the South China Sea, or sorry, I'll start on the Arctic argument, which is like the first thing I look because of like the Wang stuff. So on this argument, I think that you guys are winning probably some mitigation, but I think they're also going to be winning the link. So like even if I buy that like it's only in a certain concentrated area and it might take a long time, those things don't like de-link the argument for me. I think that they're still accessing 73 million barrels, and I think they're still accessing like they do kind of like come back from this like, oh, it's going to take a long time thing by like giving me sufficient evidence to believe that they are speeding up the process to a point. Now I don't know how much they're speeding up, but I still think they do eventually link into the opportunity. I think what you guys have done, which would be better, and like I guess implicating your mitigation, is going more with this green tech risk. Like idea and saying like we like preclude that ever happening because that wasn't extended. I don't find the mitigation enough for me to believe that they shouldn't like get an impact. So with that in mind, I think that links them into like their methane release, which causes all of these like damages, which links them into their way. On your case, so even if I like so then onto your argument, I think that. I feel like I'm not getting sufficient interaction from you all on the idea that like Trump is like going to start the multilateral coalition. You extend evidence and like warranting about how like these countries, like how the like Asian countries want to, I guess, stop China, but their Trump response like supersedes that because it says like Trump isn't going to start the coalition. Even if they want a coalition, Trump isn't starting it, so there's not like a counterbalance backing them up. I also think that I'm not getting like sufficient answers on like the Yan and Shu extensions from their case, and those like arguments I feel like are like actual delinks, whereas like your defense is more mitigation. So even if I believe like I believe that they have like a diminished but still existing offense, and I think that you're getting like more delinks on your case.
Also, just point, I watched you earlier, and you were really great in Crossfire then, and I feel like this round you were a little bit more timid. Can you just like keep that energy up to final, all right? Because you were really good in first round, so do that again, all right? For sure.